Hi everyone, I hope you're doing very well. I usually do a bit of an introduction to my maths videos and it's usually with me sat at the desk, but I'm actually on sabbatical leave at the moment and I'm travelling around Europe in a camper van, so I'm just going to insert these little videos instead. I just want to remind you that images of the worksheet as well as the answer sheet and other bits and bobs can be found over on my Instagram page. There's a link to this in the description box below, or you can just search at Maths Chelsea. Okay, this is the worksheet for graphs section 8. Let's get straight into the first section, which is exponent. So the word exponent is used to describe the power or indices of some term. So for example, if you take this term here, x squared, this 2 is said to be the exponent of x. So you can kind of try and remember exponential functions as ones where we've got some floating numbers, we've got some powers. Now, as it turns out, exponential functions are functions where the x is actually the exponent, i.e. x does the bit of floating in these functions. The standard exponential functions are as follows. Y is equal to ab to the x, or y is equal to ab to the minus x, where b is some number greater than 0 and a is just some number. Okay, so what do these bad boys look like when they are plotted on a graph? Well, they take various forms. The reason they take various forms is because of the different values of b and the different sign, i.e. plus or minus, in front of the x. Let's look at the first graph example. If x is positive and b is greater than 1, then the exponential function is going to look like this. The function is said to be increasing as x increases, i.e. y is getting bigger and bigger and bigger as we go along the curve. Notice that on the y-axis, i.e. where x is equal to 0, y is equal to a. This is true for all exponential functions of the form y is equal to ab to the x or y is equal to ab to the minus x. I'll show you in this example here why this is always true. Okay, let's move on to our second graph. So here y is equal to ab to the x, but now b is greater than 0 but less than 1. When we have a function like this, the graph looks like this. This is said to be a decreasing function. Notice again here, when x is 0, y is equal to a. And finally, the final graph here. This is an example of the exponential function y is equal to ab to the minus x, where b is greater than 1. And the graph looks like this, similar to the one above. Again, I keep banging on about it, but when x is 0, y is equal to a. Now, I haven't included it here, but you may ask, well, what happens when this x is negative, but b is greater than 0, but less than 1? i.e. this guy here. Well, you get an increasing function, like the first example. If you can't see that, then I'd say write out an example and prove it to yourself, i.e. take the example y is equal to a half to the minus x and plot it on a graph and see what happens. Alright, so some of the questions that you might get about exponential functions are basic ones like plotting an exponential function on a graph. I've gone over how to plot functions on graphs so many times. I'm not going to do it here, but you can look at previous videos and previous worksheets to see how it's done. Another type of question is one of those really annoying wordy ones that examiners bloody love. Like, they get off on this kind of rubbish, I think. Nonetheless, we've still got to answer them, and they're not so bad when you erase all the useless bits of information and plan out each step and make sure you're using the key bits of information. So here goes, let's look at this guy. TikTok accounts are increasing. The rate at which they increase can be expressed by this function here, y is equal to pd to the x. We're given the graph of this function, thank you very much, and we're told 2 points that this graph, or this function, when plotted on this graph, passes through. We're then asked to find the value of p and d, and then to calculate the number of TikTok accounts there will be in 2022. Okay, so let's break it down. Let's first forget about this bit, number of accounts in 2022, and let's just find P and D to begin with. What information are we given that might help us with that? Well, we're given these 2 points here. If a function passes through a point, it means
that these values are a solution to the function, i.e. when x is equal to 0, y is equal to 10,000. And what you can do, you can take those values of x and y and put them into your equation or put them into your function and then see what happens. So let's just go ahead and do that. So using the first coordinate, we know that x is equal to 0 when y is equal to 10,000. Therefore, our function was this, but if we plug these values in, if we substitute them, we get this. 10,000 is equal to p times d to the power of 0. Anything to the power of 0 is 1, so this guy changes to a 1. So this d to the 0 is actually equal to 1. Therefore, we actually get 10,000 is equal to p. So here we go, we've found the value of p. Now this makes sense from what we saw over here. I said that when you have a function of this form, when x is 0, y is equal to a. And we found it's true here. When x is 0, p is equal to 10,000. A is p in this example here. Right, now we know p, we need to find d. What can we use? Well, we've used this coordinate. Any other information? Yeah, we've got this second coordinate here. So again, we know that we can use the value x is equal to 2 and y is equal to 250,000. And we can plug that into our equation because this pair is a solution to our function. So using the second coordinate, we know that x is equal to 2 when y is equal to 250,000. So again, we can plug these into our equation. Our equation is this here. I've taken away the p and put in its actual value. So we get y is 250,000 is equal to 10,000 times by d squared. You take this 10,000 across and you get 25 on this side and d squared on this side. So we know that d is equal to plus or minus square root of 25. Now by the definition of exponential functions, we have that b must be greater than 0. In this example, d is b basically. So we know that d must be greater than 0. Therefore, when we have that d is equal to plus or minus 25, we know that we must take the positive side. So d is equal to 5. All right, we've found p and d. So technically, the function is actually y is equal to 10,000 times by 5 to the x. And this describes the number of TikTok accounts since 2018. Now the final part of the question. How many accounts will there be in 2022? Well, in 2018, x is 0, because in the question it says x is the number of years since 2018. So at 2018, x is 0. Therefore, in 2022, x must be 4. So what we can do, we can plug 4 into our function, and we already know p and d, and find what y is. So x is 0 in 2018, so x is 4 in 2020. If x is 4, then our function becomes y is equal to 10,000 times by 5 to the power of 4, which is 6,250,000 accounts. Boom, done. Just as a note, I made up this question and it in no way reflects the number of actual TikTok users or its growth, unless by some miracle I accidentally got it right. So these kinds of questions just require you to sit back, take a deep breath after reading the question, and then plan out how you're going to answer it. Find the key bits of information and you will get to the solution. Everything will fall into place. I know what it can seem like when you see a really wordy question like this, but just take your time with it. Okay, right. I've put some questions together for you here so you can test out your knowledge if you like. As I said, the workings and answers to these questions are on my Instagram page, so you can go ahead and check that out if you want, as well as see an image of the worksheet. Thanks for watching.